everybody, hope everyone's having a great night so far, and actually entire Friday. Let's just get right into it. I'm starting a bit late, so yeah, I want to get to programming. So we are working on fixing up the async request handler, and the main thing is we wanted to pull out the specific type of requests into their own objects, so this one Lua async request handler wouldn't be bloated with a bunch of different handlers, because we'll probably add a couple more, and it was already such a large class with just 2. And one problem we were having is this code needs some way to tell if a request is done. And right now we have this isRequestFilled, and it just calls a separate function depending on which type. And so what we really want to do is have like a dictionary that we can insert these types into and then get a query that will tell us if it's ready or not. And that's not going to be too difficult to do. So first, in order to just be able to insert our queries into the controller like we do for everything else, and still have it easily, well, make this async handler have an easy time finding it. Actually, can't talk. We're going to make a new component tag object. You might have seen me use this one for most of the games, but we'll actually copy this and then use something a little different. In fact, I'll just copy the whole thing. Okay, and let's just call this async handler tag. This so I can just copy the class name up here. Oh, I see what I did. That. Okay, I kind of made a mess of this. We'll fix it up. And okay. And we don't need that. Okay. So really, we'll just need the this async request type. That will be this tag. And these classes are really simple. We can actually make this a public tag. We don't need these helpers either. So all it needs to do is it needs to be easily do the hash code? Oh, maybe I deleted it. Oh, yeah, I did. So it just needs to be able to be used by a dictionary, which means we need to implement these equals and the get hash code. Hi, Scorpion. There's a Family Guy online. Wow, I didn't know that. How are you doing tonight? Okay, and then I need to implement my component tag and also well, I don't need to do equatable because maybe I should. This class doesn't. Alright, good to hear. Oh, I see the problem. I need to switch this type out right here. Yeah, there's no subtag. Just use the int skip hash code. ToString. Let's do something like this. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, I'll have to go look at that after the stream. Alright, so now we're ready to fill in all the queries here. So basically we'll need one for every type of request, except for none, obviously. Oops, I copied the wrong thing. And how we'll do it is do controller, use query, then request, and then we'll just give it the new tag. And now, okay, so what's the problem here? Cannot oh, that's because this is just a query and it should actually be a query handle. And now here in the stat request handler, first let's make the function and then we'll set up the hook there. So basically it'll just be this monster stat known. So private bool is request ready, if I can type. The argument type again. Okay, async open request. And then we just return this, which actually, do I have this function? Oh yeah, right there. I'll go ahead and spell it out, I guess. And now all we'll do is claim the query, and give it the new tag. And then we pass the function to it. Oh, that's not, it shouldn't be a request, this should be the async handler tag. Okay, so now we deposit the function here, and that way the handler can grab it up here. If I can find it. Yeah, right here. And well, I'll go ahead and comment this out. Now, instead of having this logic here specifically, this call is request filled. Oh wait. Yeah, I was looking for the dictionary. Type. Oh yeah, I need to change it into an integer. And then we'll just call it and pass the request. So yeah, it's pretty simple. And now this object does not need this monster stat known function. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the wait one frame, and then we can test it out. guess I'll copy the code I commented out earlier just to make sure that I have working logic. And then, yeah, instead of registering under monster stat, we'll do wait frame. And yeah, I think that's all I need to do. So now I can delete this. And we could check to make sure that there's actually something registered in this dictionary. But it doesn't really matter, because if it throws an error, then that's because something's gone wrong on my end. This dictionary could, since we're using integers, it could actually be a list, and that would be a lot easier to index. Or a lot faster to index, I should say. I think there will be one empty or one null object at the very beginning of the list because of this none, but it doesn't really matter that much. And I'll use this safe set function, which just if the list is too small to hold an object at the specified index, it just goes and grows the list until it is large enough. Just change this a little. Oh yeah, one more parenthesis. Radio station's been playing Final Fantasy the whole time I've tuned in. Okay, so I think, oh, I need to create these objects now. Actually, why don't I just have the request handler create them? Shouldn't cause any problems. Okay, so let's try it out. So good. Everything seems to be okay. Although, do I actually use any of these? Well, I guess I do use the monster one. Even though it doesn't actually have to fetch a stat off the server, it still goes through the motions. Why don't I just test it? By inserting on your turn, let's just, okay, what is the coroutine helper? Wait 1 frame, and now I just type code. That's all I have to do. So let's see if this works. That way we would have tested both types of coroutine helpers. Okay, so everything is good, no errors. second turn. Okay, well that didn't take too long. Let's look, we've done that. Okay, yeah, this was something I actually forgot to do last night. We started, what was it? We get targets, I think? Yeah, I changed it so that we would actually get the script ID from the async handler so that we could store information on a per script basis. And I forgot to update all the other scripts to use that new feature. Which, obviously everything still works fine, but it's a little messy. So I'm just going to look here and make sure everything I finished, or followed through on this script at least. So we look for the call for the specific ID, remove it, and then we use the options. Okay, so that is fine. The only thing I'd really change here is that I'd have another dictionary on the script ID that would store this information. But I guess it works fine as is. Let's look through here and see if any of them are storing information in a way that would cause problems. No, this is all fine. I guess the only problem is we had to do these like lambda calls, which kind of generates a unneeded object right here. But in the long term, it's not really that big of a deal. That's okay. Okay, well this is only... yeah, this does store some information, but it enforces one call at a time, so it's not an issue. This is all instantaneous. Okay, so I guess I don't need to change anything. Do I want to? I don't know, it's working fine right now. We don't really need to have a separate dictionary for each of these. So I'll just leave it for now. Okay, now this is one other thing I wanted to do. It's not an issue right now, but when we have games with a lot of scripts, things like the end of turn effects are a lot slower right now because the async handler basically wastes one frame before it actually calls the script. So even if a script doesn't have any coroutines in it, it can't finish in one frame. And that is an issue because say if we had like, I don't know, 30 or more after turn effects that we're going to calculate, that would be 30 frames that the player would just sit there. And I mean, it's not a real problem, but it'll make the game seem sluggish, I think. So before I do too much work, I wanted to see if I could fix that somehow. And the easiest way I could think of is to have another message that scripts can request for the asynchronous handler to update a script immediately. Just looking to see how difficult that would be. Basically, it would just call this function for one specific script. And I don't think that would cause any issues. Let's see. Fresh script. The only thing that could maybe cause a problem is if some script calls or forces a refresh while this is in its, while like this for loop is iterating. But I think even if that happens, since we're going through backwards, it won't cause any problems. And of course, a simple way to fix that is also just to forbid that manual refreshes during this tick. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, so let's just try this once and see if it works out okay. Okay, so we'll basically subscribe to a message here. Come on, slot that right in it, autocomplete. Okay, so fresh async script now. Okay, and this should actually have an integer as an argument. Okay, I think that is fine. I don't even have to change anything else in here for now. And then so I'm trying to decide which of these scripts would it be most useful. Well, pretty much all of them really. But let's do usable first. So how it would work is we'd actually have to get two messages here, which is a bit of a shame because it makes everything a little more complicated, but I guess that's just a fact of the matter. Yeah, this is a message claim because we're gonna send a message to someone else. Okay, so manually run. Gosh, this song is really loud. Alright, that's a little better. Okay. Close controller, claim message, an integer argument. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Then we just need to give it the tag. I just remembered I put now in it. Well, no, I don't want to change it to run because the script might not run if it's not ready. So all we have to do here is get the script ID, and then we just call send. So let's see if this works before I add it to any other objects. Oh, we already got something. Argument out of range. You're not gonna take me to the script? Come on, I can't. Someone drag that up. Okay, so message, blue colors, refresh script at 2:45. Okay, so it's saying this. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, because the ID might not doesn't match up to this list. What's the best way to fix that? Okay, I guess we'll have to make this a little more complicated. So I have two options. I can either kind of hack this and change this, or I guess it's not really hacky, but change this message to not run a specific index, but actually run the last added script. That would be probably simpler, but obviously takes away some functionality. The other option is I can send the index, but in order to get this active track, I'd have to loop through this list to find the one with the matching ID. And to be honest, there probably won't ever be more than like 8 scripts running at once, so that might not be a huge deal. But the other question is would I ever have any other use case for this besides just wanting to run the newest added script right away? The only thing I could think of is that if we wanted to like alert the script handler that it can run right away once a stat is received, but I don't really know. I don't think that would actually save much time. So I think I'll go with the first option and just change this to start latest async script. So I'll still want this, but yeah, this will be, change this to index. It's not an ID. And this will just be refresh script active tracks count -1. And the worst that could happen from this is that a specific script, like I don't think there's any ever way that this could call a script twice, because either when this is called, the script would either be finish in one frame, or it would have asked for a request that wasn't completed yet. So if we tried to say refresh a script early, then it would just ask this is request filled and it would return false, so nothing would happen. So I'm pretty sure this can't actually lead to any bugs. I mean, the worst that could happen is that when we call this refresh the latest, it doesn't actually call the script, and that would only be if somehow someone else inserted a script in between when we called this message and this message, which I'm not sure how that could happen. I'm just trying to think of all issues. But I think we're safe here. just need to change this to a typeless message. Okay, no errors in it. All the usable scripts completed. And they did complete in one frame actually. Oh wait, that's the wrong thing. Let's reload it because now this log has gotten confusing. So it created fireball usable, yeah, on frame 144, and then it finished on 144. I think in the old system, well, I guess let's test it out and see. Actually, it still might finish on the same frame just because the order of updates, but let's just see. Okay, yeah, no, it's created on frame 113 and then it finishes on 114, so we did save one frame. And it'll be more pronounced with the after turn effects because they have to run one after the other, so if I didn't add this, then you'd basically waste one frame per script, which would add up. So I think I'll go ahead and call this to basically everything because why not? It's going to go through each and paste one snippet of code at a time. I think it'll be fastest in the long run. Okay, those handlers don't have anything. Last but not least, I think this is the last piece of the puzzle. Hi VR for breakfast. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for stopping by. Okay, looks like we're done. So now I'll go try to run through a turn and make sure nothing's broken. Okay. I just need to adjust my maximum message limit here so it will have unlimited claims, which basically means unlimited number of scripts can call this message, but there can only be one handler for it. What's the type again? Okay, that should fix that error. What are the green blocks in the capsule? The blocks are basically pieces of the map. It's kind of built like Minecraft except with hexagons, because I think monsters will be able to move the blocks around and stuff, and then these capsules are the monsters right now. As you can see, I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on art yet, but hopefully in the near future. Okay, so everything ran perfectly. Good. So that's another thing to mark off the list. And I think, is that all the cleanup I wanted to do? Look through and see if there's anything else. I think we're good. So one of the main reasons I wanted to clean up the coroutine helper classes is because I'm going to add a third type, which is A-star pathfinding. And if you haven't ever heard of A-star before, it's basically just a specific way to find the shortest movement path. It's used in all kinds of different games. For right now it's really simple because our character can only move, well, the map is really small and the character just checks all adjacent tiles, but say we wanted to be able to move 3 tiles out. If we wanted to do that in a script, it would be possible, but it'd be a lot of trouble. And it can also be a long time. Like, say, what if the movement radius was 7 tiles? So it'll be a lot faster if we can run this in C#, and it's used so often. I want the game to provide that to mod authors. Yeah, A-star is a good algorithm. Yeah, I have to make more tiles. Exactly. That's actually, I should go ahead and expand the map, maybe. So for now, we have a 3x3x3 map. Let's see, how big should I make it? Let's do 20x20. And the columns and rows, so this just sets the bottom row, and then here it sets some dirt. Let's just make sure this works before I go any further. Okay, the game actually took noticeably longer to load there. Okay. But yeah, so now the map is much larger, and also, okay, now we can see that the indexes I used to place the monsters no longer work. Because they're inside the tile. And this also highlights the need for a better camera script. Interesting. I wonder why the game takes so long to load now. Oh, maybe it's probably something as simple as me printing all these debug lines for every block. Because we can see we have 999 plus lines of code, or debug logs, and that's actually really slow. I don't really know why it's so slow for Unity to write to the debug log, but it is. So I think if I deleted this, that might speed up the whole loading section of the game. Well, it's surprising how slow it is. See, look, it loaded quite a bit faster. It's not like, I mean, this is still a pretty small map, so I would be a little worried if the game was that slow. But yeah, it looks... Okay, we'll work on the camera later. So now we have a really simple but boring map. But I need to give the players a different position. Is it loading? I forget if it's loading from the save file or not. I have it to load, yeah, from no file, so this is using testing or hard-coded values. Okay, well, that makes it easier for me to set up everything. Vary the colors. That's probably a good idea. Right now it's like that because the gray tiles are stone, and the bottom row is, or bottom layer is all stone. But yeah, for visibility we could do something like every other tile is, or every other row is dirt. Let's see. Okay, so let's, if I remember Lua correctly, I can do something fancy here. So if r modulo 2 is 0, which basically means if r is even, then it will be a stone tile or a dirt tile. So basically what this expression here is says if r is even, then we'll return stone, otherwise we'll return dirt. It's kind of a Lua trick, but let's see if it actually works. Don't think I've ever tried that in Moonsharp. Okay, it did work. So it looks a little better. We could do a checkerboard or something, but I think this makes it visible enough. Yeah, I think it does look a lot better. Definitely easier to see. Okay, now what was I doing? Oh, right here I want to give the monsters better positions. So right now I just set it by the index, which, as we saw, if you change the dimensions on the map, the indexes are different. So I think I can do it like this. Hex position, new hex position. Okay, so let's put this one, let's just put in a test value to see how it works. So I'll put it on the 10th column, 10th row, first layer. And then if I pass it the current board, it will figure out the numeric index for that specific space. And then I'll put the silver monster a couple rows over, or columns over. Okay, yeah. So now they're not inside the tiles anymore. And I should be able to still issue a command to the gold. And of course it just gives me a ring around it. But everything still works fine with a different map setup. Music up just a bit since that other song was so loud. Okay, and also, yeah, this doesn't really do anything anymore, but that's okay. Right, so A-star, it depends how complicated I want to make it to, I guess, what I'm trying to say, how long it'll take me to program it depends on how complicated I want to make it. The easiest way would be just to basically not give mod authors a lot of freedom, and the A-star will pretty much just look along the tile's surfaces and try and find a certain move distance, if that makes sense. So it would just look along flat surfaces of the tile and wouldn't climb up or anything. And that's kind of boring. And also, if I have a monster that can fly or climb, that the mod authors just couldn't use it. So I think I need to give mod authors powers to at least see or tell the A-star searcher what valid neighbors there are on each tile. So for example, here the valid neighbors, like if I was on this tile, the valid neighbors would be that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, and that one. So just all around it. But over here, if I was on this tile, it would just be these, or if the monster could climb, maybe it would be this one as well. So I think, we definitely need to give the mod authors some kind of choice there. And then in A star, there's also the concept of movement cost. And I think the mods would need to be able to determine that as well. Because again, for a climbing monster, it probably costs more to climb than just to walk, but not for a flying monster. So yeah, I think that's pretty important. Gotta head out, looks like off to a good start. Yeah, thanks VR for breakfast for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Have a good night. Wow, that was loud. I don't know if you guys could hear that plane. Seems like it flew right over my house. But anyway, okay. So, how I like to do it when I'm working on Lua is to start from Lua and work upwards. Because to me the most important thing is to make things easy for the mod authors, so I want to figure out how I do it. Okay, so let's make another ability. Right now I have this fireball. Let's change it to I guess I'll name it A star move. And I'll just delete this punch ability because I don't think it's needed. So I want to leave this simple move here just to test it out. So yeah, this will be a little different as well, probably. And now if I go here, and then I need to take out the old abilities from these monsters. Alright. So let's see, what would be the best way to do this? I want to do something like, I don't know, coroutine helper dot find path. And then I would want to give a bunch of arguments here. The starting position, which would be the args monster, lowercase this, position, and then something like, I'm trying to find if there's a better way to do this, but we'll need to pass the movement cost maximum, or will we actually? Probably want to pass a bunch of functions here. So it'll be like find neighbors, get cost, heuristic. Another aspect of A star is there's this heuristic value, which is kind of like a guess of if you're getting close to a certain goal, but of course this path doesn't have a goal, so I guess it wouldn't have a heuristic. That's true, actually. But sometimes we will need to find a path. So this would be more like find all paths. And then, yeah, I guess you would have a max movement cost. But let's do that as a function, like maybe terminate path, which means we're done on this path. And then, yeah, we'll definitely want find neighbors. Oh, let's change the order of this. And then get cost. Something like that. I wonder if there's a better way to pass all these objects. Like, it might be nice if you could register a certain type of pathfinding, I don't know, I guess prototype or something, and that way you could define these functions beforehand, and then you could just say find all paths using a specific set of functions. I might do that. But anyway, here, then we get local paths equals coroutine. Oh, don't actually need that. For this, we just want to return coroutine yield num paths greater than 0, because basically the ability will be usable if the number of paths is greater than 0. And then here we do something similar. Except we would loop through every path and then add that as a target option. And so basically we know kind of how we want it to work, but I'm not so sure about these arguments yet, so local paths equals coroutine yield, and then for path and paths, okay, I'll copy this. So this is basically the same, except we pass the path, and the position is actually path ending position, yeah, below, because the indicator goes on the tile below where you'll actually move. Oh, but this memory needs the actual position, not the path, so to work with, I guess the selection of actions actually, this is what uses the position, so we might actually need the entire path so that we can do a move to each position in order. Yeah, so I was right the first time. And then here, we would just say for each, oh wait, no, we don't need each, for each position in args memory path do and then we do something like this. Actions do move the monster and then this position, and then basically we'll move the monster along the chosen path. Okay, so that's good. I think I want So this is like one use case of pathfinding where we find all paths, but then there's another one that we might want to move towards a monster or some other position. So and this time we'd actually want a specific position that we'll move towards. Okay, so move toward, and I think this is just always, well, basically we'll need to count monsters up and see if there's any monsters besides us. But for now I'll just return true because I'm almost out of time. Make sure there are any monsters to move towards. It'll basically be the number of monsters is greater than 1. We can make this a little simpler actually. We can just do something like that to do one line. Okay, so this is move toward. Okay, now this doesn't actually have any pathfinding at this point. Oh, well, no, it does, because we basically need to see if there's any path that exists towards each monster. Okay, so this is a bit more complicated. Let's see, so for each monster, find fastest, or not fastest, shortest, oh I can't type, path to its position, oops, wrong its. And then basically these actions, or selections of actions, are basically exactly the same. Okay, so one thing I can see here for sure is that, for example, this A-star move basically calls this pathfinding thing 3 times to the same position, or on the same position. So I think, yeah, the A-star searcher should definitely cache its searches for each turn. Maybe, I don't know. Well, no, it would have to like delete all searches once any monster has changed position. So I guess it can at least cache searches until an action has been logged. So yeah, we'll see, look into that. Okay, so let's write some reminders here. So we'll want find all paths. We'll want find specific, or find shortest path to a specific goal. Cache searches until actions logged. And then we'll want to allow mods to determine neighbors, cost, let's see, move, cost, the heuristic, also when to end paths. I think that's it. And then allow mods to specify a group of functions to be used. I guess I should say, I guess pre-register is the right word. So that way we don't have to pass all these functions to the coroutine helper every time. Alright. Okay, so I feel like we've gotten an idea of what we'll need the system to do. I guess now it's a fun part where we actually write it. But I think this is it for me for tonight, and I guess for the week. So thanks everybody for coming by and watching. I really appreciate it. I'll be back Monday around 8:30 Eastern, and we'll continue working on this. I think this weekend I'm going to try to brush up on my Blender skills, so maybe we can actually do a little bit of art. Maybe like every other day we'll switch between programming and trying to pretty up the game, because I'm really tired of these bland models. But yeah, I'll upload this to YouTube, so if you missed this stream or any other and you want to catch up, you can check out my channel, which you can get to in my description below, and also type !YouTube in chat. Similarly, I have a new Discord channel, so if you'd like to chat with me and other viewers and game developers, feel free to join that. You can find it the same ways, !Discord and chat, or my channel description. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I hope you all have a great night. That's it for me. Bye bye.